So in this video, I'll be showing you how to make a fresh ricotta. This just requires whole milk, a little bit of heavy cream, and typically you use an acid. In this case, we're going to be using lemon juice, but you could also use vinegar. You could use citric acid, which is like in a crystalline form. And that's it. It's pretty easy, pretty basic. And all we're going to do is we're going to heat the milk. We're going to heat the milks up. We'll add the lemon juice, and we'll add a little bit of salt. Okay, so the first step in making the cheese is you want to heat up the milk. For making any sort of cheese, you want to use a very low pasteurized milk, non-pasteurized, if possible, but it's not necessary. It might be harder to find like a non-pasteurized milk, but as long as it's not ultra high pasteurized or UHF or UHP pasteurized milk, you should be fine. So we're going to heat this milk. We want to bring it up to a temperature around like 180 degrees Fahrenheit or about 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you don't have, it's good to have a thermometer, but if you don't have a thermometer, you just want to heat the milk up to where it starts to be steaming. That's called scalding the milk. But you also want to make sure like the milk doesn't burn. So you want to like make sure you're stirring that milk. So if you can see this, the milk is starting to steam a little bit. That lets me know like we're getting close to the temperature that we want. And to the milk, you could also add salt. If you do add salt, make sure it's not like table salt or the iodized kind, because that could kill some of the bacteria that's in the milk as well. So like I have salt here, but it is table salt, so I'm going to add that at the end. Just going to let it go for a few more minutes. And I'm using the gas oven because if I use like the induction burner, I have a little less control over that induction burner. So ricotta is considered an unripened cheese because it's not going to sit, it doesn't have to age. If it's a ripened cheese, that means you have to age it. So it could be aging for a little as 1 to 3 months, or as more than like a year or two. Just depends on the type of cheese that you're trying to make, the type of flavor that you want to add to the cheese. So now that we have the scalding or the temperature that we need, again, it's probably best to have a thermometer just to be more accurate. But I'm just going to wing this one. So I'm going to turn that off. And I'm going to whisk in the lemon juice that I have. This is about 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Going to whisk that through. And you already feel like the milk starting to get a little bit thicker. You can see it coating my whisk already. So I'm just going to let that set for about 10 minutes. You can whisk this as it's setting up. That'll create like a smaller curd. If you want like a creamier ricotta, you can continue whisking, but I'm just going to let this set up because you could always fix that curd at the end by maybe putting it through a processor, if you choose to do that. So you can see the bowl. Okay, this next step, we're just going to strain off the cheese from the whey. We're going to separate the cheese from the whey. You can use a cheesecloth. You could also use what they call a nut bag. It does the same thing. Just want to be very careful because this liquid can still be pretty warm. Just want to gently pour it. So you want to gather the cheesecloth really create that much cheese. Interesting. Typically, you get more cheese curd than this, but it could be due to the fact maybe the temperature on my milk wasn't hot enough when I added the lemon juice. There could be a number of factors. This would be an example of a fresh ricotta. A true ricotta is actually made from the leftover whey, which is basically the same process. You would be heating up the whey and still be adding an acid, and you would then the solids again would curdle, and you'd be separating again the cheese or the solids from the leftover whey.